Welcome back to IGN Live at Comic-Con. If you've watched cartoons in the last 25 years, it's very likely you've seen something that Genndy Tartakovsky has worked on. And now the creator of Dexter's Lab and Samurai Jack is back with a brand new show, Primal. Genndy, welcome.
Thank you, thank you.
So Primal is a brand new IP, brand new series. It's about a caveman and dinosaurs, and it is leaning very hard into sort of the M-rated, adult-oriented side of animation.
Yes, absolutely. It's very raw, it's gritty, and it's very pulpy, actually, too. It's kind of inspired by the old Conan novels to a degree, and I love just to drop these characters somewhere. There's something horrific that happens, and we watch how fun it is for them to try to get out.
Now, can you talk a little bit about sort of how you went from doing Samurai Jack to this? Like, what was kind of percolating in your head to get you to Primal?
Well, it's a long way in between, but after we finished the last season of Samurai Jack, I really loved the experience and the reaction, and even in the first season of Jack, everybody's favorite sequences were all the non-dialogue ones, right? And I thought, wow, I wonder if I could take all the best sequences and put them together in a show, and if it could work. And that's kind of how the birth of Primal kind of came around, is we have 10 episodes, no dialogue.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And so it's very visceral, and we've got 3 episodes that we've completely finished now, and you don't miss the dialogue. And what's really come out of it is when you're watching it and there's no dialogue, you have to pay attention. You can't like text on your phone and still hear the radio play. You have to be invested in it. And we've had a couple of screenings now, and sure enough, people are like eating, and all of a sudden they stop eating and they're watching, and 22 minutes later, they're like, oh, right, I was eating something.
It's show, don't tell.
Yeah.
So that being said, do these characters have names, or is it just...
We call them Spear and Fang.
Spear and Fang, okay.
Yeah, but no, they don't call each other anything.
Is there voice acting? Like, do you have like Frank Welker making grunting sounds or anything?
No, I got this guy, Aaron LaPlante, who I've worked with before. He's amazing, and he kind of yells and grunts and sighs, and there's a lot of subtlety to it. It's actually a lot more difficult than you'd think it would be, but he's doing great. And then we have this whole library of different animal sounds that we're starting to develop a dialogue for the dinosaur, and she really comes alive with all the sound effects and the emoting, and at the end of the day, it's a man and his dog. It's the first pet relationship almost to a degree, even though they're equal.
I love that. Now, some of our keener-eyed, savvy viewers might point out that cavemen and dinosaurs never actually hung out. Can you talk a little bit about sort of the setting here and how much leeway you're taking with sort of the historical accuracy?
Yeah, it's funny.
Quite a bit, I imagine.
Yes, of course we know that dinosaurs and humans were millions and millions of years apart. But for me, it's a cartoon show, right? It's animated, and it's fun. I've always dreamed about somebody writing dinosaurs. That's super cool, right? And so we kind of went for it. And the show is pulpy. It's not like it's an accurate depiction of the past. But at the same time, there's a lot of stuff that we're doing anatomically correct, and the world, and inspired by nature a lot, And so it's like this kind of in-between thing, where sometimes we're super accurate, like on a paleontological nerd area, and other times we're way off, like the whole conceit of the show.
Well, you're having fun with it.
Absolutely, yeah.
It's a cartoon show. It's okay for it to get a little bit silly.
Yes.
Can you talk a little bit about sort of what else is going on in this world? Because we've seen dinosaurs, we've seen the titular, the caveman. Are there any like civilizations in this world, or is it all pretty much just?
No, right now from where they are, it is pretty much just different types of beasts. Some mysterious, some very from history, and it's kind of horrific. There's this horror element to the show that kind of sneaks up on you. And also the circle of life, like that theme. If you ever watch a nature show, right, you watch and there's an amazingly strong, cute polar bear, right? And you're like, oh, he's so amazing. And what's he going to eat? Oh, no, a baby seal.
Oh, my.
Right? And so you feel for that, and I love that confliction, right? And we have stuff like that where you're like, oh, my God, they're going to kill this thing, but it's so amazing. And it's an awesome, very entertaining thing to watch, to see how the characters deal with it and those themes.
Now, it's very cool. You've always had kind of little bits of I feel like, more adult animation kind of injected into your work. I mean, some of the, I feel like, earliest kind of like Western references to anime were in stuff like Dexter's Lab. I'm thinking of like the lens flare sound effect on a giant mech. Yeah. So, you're obviously familiar with making, adult cartoons. Have there been sort of like mature ideas you've been kicking around that you've been kind of like maybe putting a pin in for later while working on the TVY7 iteration of Samurai Jack?
It's mostly the type of storytelling. I mean, first of all, everything that we've done, even going back to Dexter, I don't know what a kid likes, right? I can't pretend because one day they could be liking this or that. And so I've always made shows for us. So if I like it, if the crew laughs at it, we know it's going to be successful. That hopefully other people will like it. As soon as you become kind of pandering or like, well, I know kids like this, so I'm going to do this, that's when things become not cool. So we've always been sincere. So with this, we can do storytelling that's more gray. And what I mean by that is like everything doesn't have to be spelled out. It's very clear, but I leave a little room for interpretation, right? So you can watch something, you're like, oh, I bet you this happened or this happened, and both things are right, and that makes it more adult. Where in kids, you're like, you got to be crystal clear, and it's a little bit more simplistic. This has a lot of complexity.
You have to beat them over the head a little bit with some exposition here and there.
Here and there, yeah.
Say the moral of the story, and then everyone laughs, and it ends on a freeze frame.
Exactly.
Now, one of my favorite things you've done was the Clone Wars micro series, which effectively that was the renaissance of Star Wars animation that spun off into the Clone Wars TV show. And then Dave Filoni, who made his name doing Clone Wars animation, is now doing The Mandalorian, which kind of has a rotating cast of directors per episode. Would you consider directing an episode of The Mandalorian if approached?
I don't know. I mean, I feel like I've contributed to the Star Wars universe, whether they like it or not, and then I'm kind of done, I think.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, maybe if the right opportunity came along, but right now I'm so into everything new that I'm creating, with Primal and everything else I've got lined up, that I think I'm okay.
Okay. You put out a graphic novel pretty recently, Luke Cage. I was a big fan of this. You haven't done a ton in the way of comics. You're mostly doing animation, but I thought that just felt like, again, that felt like a kid just cutting loose with a box of crayons. Would you consider doing any other takes on Marvel characters, any other comics like that?
I mean, I would. It's so hard to do comics because it's that, in animation, we have a lot of drawings and it kind of goes by and you don't stare at it. With a comic, you draw one drawing and it's there forever. So the pressure is different and you really got to work at those drawings. So it's harder. And I did have so much fun doing that. That was such a great experience. And I would, but I don't know, just timing, I don't know if it's going to work out, but yeah.
Well, anyone who hasn't, check out the Luke Cage graphic novel. It's really, really good. Now back to Primal,
yes.
Really quick. We've seen kind of the, Samurai Jack had sort of Monster of the Week episodes, but there was also the overall narrative.
Yep.
How is Primal structured? Is it more, you say pulpy a lot? Is it kind of a similar structure?
Yeah, there's definitely a goal of just to survive, right? And to eat and to survive, not die. And each episode really is about building their relationship, right? So we try to draw you in that you really feel for the characters. If the show's successful, it'll be because of the relationship and then the violence, right? And the mood of it and the unique tone. But so the first 10 is building on that, and I don't want to give too much away, but I don't necessarily think there's an arc, but there's definitely a progression of character.
Cool. Well, Genndy, I am dying to check out Primal. Primal premieres on Adult Swim later this year. There's more Comic-Con to come up on IGN Live. Right now, we've got a great recipe for a healthy butternut squash soup that your whole family will love. I'm just kidding. I'm actually not sure what's happening next, but definitely not soup. Stick around.